Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay, you can get us online. Hey there. They're hiding. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopijana Ballava Girivaradhare Gopijana Ballava Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Braja Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to their summer devotees. All glories to their summer devotees. All glories to their summer devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. One minute. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24. Oops. Okay. The mic cable. Mm-mm. 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 So let us start again. How's that? Okay. Let us start again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni. And I was told verse 44, I was also told verse 45. Who can? 45. Okay, yes. So verse 45 then. Vasudeva Bhagavate Sarva Gye Pratyag Atmane Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdatma Mukta Bandhana Vasudeva Bhagavate Sarvage Pratyag Atmane Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdatma Mukta Bandhana Vasudeva Bhagavate Sarvage Pratyag Atmane Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdatma Mukta Bandhana Vasudeva Bhagavate Sarvage Pratyag Atmane Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdatma Mukta Bandhana. Mother James. Vasudeva Bhagavate Sarvage Pratyagatmane Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdatma Mukta Bandhana Vasudeva to Vasudev Bhagavate, the personality of Godhead, Sarvage, omniscient, Pratyag Atmane, the super soul within everyone, Parena, transcendental, Bhakti Bhavena, by devotional service. Labda Atma, being situated in himself. Mukta Bandhana, liberated from material bondage. Translation. He thus became liberated from conditioned life and became self-situated in transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, the omniscient supersoul within everyone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When one engages in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, one becomes aware that his constitutional position as an individual soul is to be eternally a servitor of the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva. Self-realization does not mean that because the Supreme Soul and the individual soul are both souls, they are equal in every respect. The individual soul is prone to be conditioned, and the Supreme Soul is never conditioned. When the conditioned soul realizes that he is subordinate to the Supreme Soul, his position is called Labdhatma, self-realization, or Mukta Bandhana, freedom from material contamination. Material contamination continues as long as one thinks that he is as good as the Supreme Lord or is equal with him. This condition is the last snare of Maya. Maya always influences the conditioned soul. Even after much meditation and speculation, if one continues to think himself one with the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that he is still in the last snares of the spell of Maya. The word parena is very significant. Para means transcendental, untinged by material contamination. Full consciousness that one is an eternal servant of the Lord is called para bhakti. If one has any identification with material things and executes devotional service for attainment of some material gain, that is vidha bhakti, contaminated bhakti. One can actually become liberated by execution of para bhakti. Another word mentioned here is sarvagya. The supersoul sitting within the heart is all cognizant. He knows. I may forget my past activities due to the change of body, but because the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is sitting within me, he knows everything. Therefore, the result of my past karma or past activities is awarded to me. I may forget, but he awards me suffering or enjoyment for the misdeeds or good deeds of my past life. One should not think that he is freed from reaction because he has forgotten the actions of his past life. Reactions will take place, and what kind of reactions there will be is judged by the supersoul, the witness. Vasudeve Bhagavati Sarvagye Pratyag Atmani Parena Bhakti Bhavena Labdhatma Mukta Bandhana. He thus became liberated from conditioned life and became self-situated in transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, the omniscient supersoul within everyone. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachade Shatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchika Patrulubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paridanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, Kardama Muni met the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's been through his whole program of spiritual cultivation before, then became married, 9 daughters. Then Lord Kapila was born. And now he's had his conversation with Lord Kapila. He's got some mercy and blessings from Lord Kapila, and he has set off. On his own program of self-realization and just spiritual Krishna conscious cultivation, and he has become very advanced in all of that. So as the verse says, he thus became liberated from conditioned life and became self-situated in transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, who is the omniscient supersoul within every one. So here, Srila Prabhupada begins the purport by making the point that as one engages, while one engages in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, one's consciousness changes, one's awareness of everything changes, and including one's awareness, one's perception, one's awareness of what one is oneself. And gradually, step by step, the person becomes aware, becomes conscious that actually I'm an eternal spiritual person. I'm not this material body, and I'm not even a part of this whole material world. I'm something different. I'm something quite different, with quite different characteristics, quite a different nature, characteristics, capabilities, capacities, and so on like that, in just a very different category of existence. I'm an eternal spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. I'm an eternal spirit soul, and my constitution, my makeup, what you could say, consist of, is not found on the material level. It's something above and beyond the limitations, the capabilities of matter. This term transcends Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Yeah, this word transcendental is very interesting and a very important word, which indicates above and beyond material nature, and with qualities, characteristics, features, and just composition, which is not found within the material nature. In other words, the material nature exists, but its nature only extends so far, and then there's a cutoff where there's a point beyond which matter cannot pass. It cannot go there. It cannot enter that place. But that place exists. It is a place, but matter cannot penetrate there. And that other place, it's not just different. It's not just different like sometimes they say when people are trying to compare some things, and even sometimes it's said when people try to compare Krishna consciousness with other things, sometimes it's said you cannot compare apples to oranges. I mean, you can make some comparison if you want, but really they're very different. Their composition, their nature, their taste, their smell, and all these things are really quite different. And to make a meaningful comparison between one of them and something else, you've got to have enough things in common. Otherwise, you're just talking about two different things, and you just got to talk about them in independent terms, independent of the terms you use for the other. Something like that. So, similarly, there are such differences. Well, when we talk about apples and oranges, there are some similarities. You can eat them, for example. They both have some form of juice, and they both grow on trees. So, I mean, there's some grounds for comparison, but then it does end at a certain point. And they're just different. You cannot say that either is just intrinsically, essentially better than the other. You can just say they're different from each other. But some people will prefer apples, and some will prefer oranges. Some will like both of them, and just appreciate the different tastes. But now when we talk about transcendence, we're not just talking about something different, although we are talking about something different, something which has features which are just not found in the other. But also, you're talking about something, if we talk about the transcendental, we are talking about something which is better. It's not just different, it's better. Yes. So the devotee then, a person who's engaged in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, Krishna conscious activity, even though up to that point in time, the person has just seen themselves as being just another typical person in the material world. In other words, thinking that, yes, I'm part of the material world, but change takes place. This is what we are here for in Krishna consciousness. We are here to change, really, to make substantial change, not just a little variation, something like that. We are here to make major change, which sometimes may take us aback a little. But anyway, that is the idea. And that change is for the better, not just to be different, although it is different, but it's not simply to be different. And that is to realize that we are transcendental, that there are certain features of the material world which previously we thought or that previously we were subject to. But now we realize, actually, I'm not subject to those things. I am different. So those things cannot affect me, particularly Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, transcendental knowledge and bliss. As the devotee progresses in Krishna consciousness, gradually the devotee becomes aware that I am not this body, and therefore the nature of the body, including its nature to die, I do not share that with the body. I have a different nature. In those terms, we did mention in Nectar of Devotion, when we were discussing that just not long ago, that Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a person practicing Krishna consciousness, gradually becoming more and more advanced, and gradually becoming very advanced, and realizing who he or she is in the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual world. That I'm not just a man or a woman of this material world, but I am whatever it may be. It may be a gopi. It may be a cowherd boy. It may be a cow. It might even be a blade of grass. A devotee, we were told, once said to Prabhupada, trying to manifest a mood of humility, or some sort of realization of my unworthy position. The devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, when I go back to Godhead, I'll probably just be a blade of grass. Means, what is that? Just, it's totally negligible, no significance. Prabhupada responded, we were told, you would be so fortunate, because the blades of grass there, they're way beyond, anyone, more or less, certainly on the material level, and even amongst the aspiring devotees. So anyway, as progress goes on, gradually a person becomes aware. We saw in the case of Narada Muni in the first canto, when he, as the son of the maidservant, he lived out his life in Krishna consciousness, and then he died, his body died. And at that time, when his body died, then he realized, wow, I'm the eternal Narada Muni, because that's his eternal position. Up to that time, he was, whoever he was, whatever his name was, as the son of the maidservant. And the Bhagavatam says that awareness came of his eternal position. It came simultaneously with his leaving the body. And the Bhagavatam says, just as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. It's just like that. It's like one thing, but it's two things, actually. Yeah. So, but now in other cases, the devotee becomes aware in the course of their life in Krishna consciousness. Yes. And even they may start, as we discussed in Nectar of Devotion, the whole discussion about Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, they become aware, factually aware, And then they start preparing and practicing for entering into that position in the kingdom of God. So, but anyway, the point we're getting at is that Srila Prabhupada describes that the spiritual body, the spiritual body is currently there within the material body. We are there. Nothing is missing. It's just that certain aspects of our nature are covered over and we're just not aware of them. But gradually with purification, as Prabhupada says here, one becomes aware of his constitutional position. Srila Prabhupada in, what is it, Mukunda Mala Stotra, if I remember correctly, says on the level of asakti, the devotee becomes aware of what is his eternal relationship with Krishna. So these things happen, and what Prabhupada says is, in Nectar of Devotion, that the transcendental body, the spiritual body, manifests, kind of extracts itself, or at least one's awareness becomes refined to the point that one perceives, oh, this is who I am, this is what I am, eternally. And the example that Prabhupada gives to illustrate the phenomenon, interesting example, is of the maturing of a coconut. That, those of us who have been to Mayapur, and you get now in other places too, but in Mayapur, sure, they're everywhere. The green coconuts, they're not fully ripe. They're not fully ripe. And there's liquid inside, and there's edible material inside, and, they're hugely popular. Generally, everyone who goes to Mayapur for the first time, at some point, it's not that uncommon, they end up on a diet of only green coconuts. It's just such a thing. After a while, you get used to it. Yes. So, but the thing is, it's unripe, it's green. It's been cut off the tree. But when those coconuts are left to just continue their natural process of sort of the unfolding of their nature, gradually what happens is that if we may use the term flesh, inside it dries. All that liquid which we drink, when we drink the liquid from the green coconuts, it all dries up. Inside it all dries up somehow or other. And the more solid material, which otherwise you can eat, it also dries because all the liquid dried up. And as it dries, because the liquid is gone, the substance, there's less, because all the liquid's gone. So it shrinks. It shrinks. And as it shrinks, eventually it separates from the outer shell. And you can then take, if you've still got the whole thing with the outer shell, you can shake it and you will hear the solid part, which is separated because it shrunk. It's separated from the shell. You can hear it rattling inside. So Prabhupada gives that example to illustrate how, over the course of time of intensive practice of Krishna consciousness on advanced levels, the spiritual body separates from the material body, and one sees oneself directly, internally, with internal vision, with the eye of the heart. Yeah. One sees who one is as an eternal person. And that's different from who you are or appear to be right now in terms of the material body. So anyway, Prabhupada discusses that. And this is self-realization. You're realizing yourself. Of course, it includes God realization, because you can only really realize who you are in terms of Krishna consciousness, because we are eternal servants of the Lord. We're not independent persons. So that self-realization means it includes realizing oneself plus the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the process of devotional service, and not being confused. Prabhupada talks about the last snare of Maya, thinking or gradually getting realization of oneself, and then particularly in some process like Ashtanga Yoga, getting some realization of the super soul, basically at the same time, sort of simultaneously, both of them develop. So the last snare of Maya, of illusion, is to think that I am the super soul. Because you see the super soul. You may see, at least. I mean, those who are practicing Ashtanga Yoga, they see like that. The devotees, when they reach that level of elevated pure devotional service, they will see Krishna himself. But others, the Ashtanga yogis particularly, they will see the super soul, who is not as interactive as Krishna is. It's much less likely that a person realizes Krishna and thinks that, oh, it's me. It's much less likely, because Krishna is much more interactive. It's a relationship. The super soul, it's much less like that, much less. In fact, they say, we mentioned the other day, that Brahman realization means to realize Krishna. It's Krishna, but minus his form and personality. The super soul, to realize the super soul, means to realize Krishna with his form, or with a form, but minus his personality. I mean, not like he's, like not a living being, but he's not personal like Krishna, Bhagavan. And to realize Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, means to realize Krishna with his form and with his personality, as he really is as a person. So therefore, in realization of the super soul, there is the possibility that someone may think it's themselves, and they do, it seems. And then that's at the last moment, you're almost there, but then they fall down, get entangled again in material life. But this didn't happen with Kardama. He realized himself as an eternal servant of the Lord. And in this way, he became free from Maya, and he became ready for going back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sure. Haribol.